Hello, everybody. Welcome. I will open the chat and I will start sharing the screen also. Okay. Happy New Year and fireworks. Yes, thank you very much. Happy New Year from Vallejo and from Houston, Texas. That's a great way to greet each other. Okay, here we are. And again, thank you very much for being here because the whole story started with me who wanted to teach others in order that I will learn. And that works, you guys. You push me into learning again every time. So I'm sharing the screen, but not that screen. I should be sharing this one. Okay, and in that screen, I'm sharing what we're doing. Okay, it's called Advances in AI. That is the link to it. I'm giving you that link on chat. Here you are. And if we click on that or just type those letters and numbers, then you will see exactly that. Now, for those people who are new here, what we're doing is we're looking at all the new things, well, all the new things as much as we can, and see what happened in the AI world. As far as developer, I'm interested in practically do it. So that is why I follow Jeff Dean, who will be the subject here. He says that's the way to live. You see, there is something you download and try it. And there are some people who don't follow that, okay? They want to be managers and don't want to code. But according to that, that's probably also a valid way to live. But according to this Jeff Dean, the person who is not coding kind of, I don't know, alive, it doesn't count. Sorry, but that is definitely his point of view. Now, the next thing is that when people come who are new here, they ask, what should I start with? So I don't do AI as yet, or I don't use it to full potential. What should I do? The answer is found right here in this link. Okay, you click on that link and it says AI education. And that is what I'm going to talk about today, and I will give you as promised. In other words, let's go back to our outline. What we're going to do is look at the next things that are happening. We'll look at performance hints that came out just about today from Jeff Dean. And I'll tell you a few things, and we will also run a lab. Okay, that's the plan to do things. And okay, so step number one is the news of today. The news of today, of course, come from Andrew Ng, and he tells the same thing. A while ago, he said, if you ask him, should one learn coding? He would say, no, don't do that. There are other things in life. But now he says that absolutely yes. There's no excuse not to because it's so easy. With AI, it's very, very easy. And then he talks about what you do. What you should do is these three things. Take a course, that's one. Practice what you learned and maybe even read research papers. Now, why take a course? That is because he says otherwise you will end up reinventing a wheel. That's already bad. But you will probably reinvent not a perfect wheel, but some kind of a bad wheel, and that's even worse. That's why he says study is a must. So last time we talked about how much do you study, like do you have a new thing that you learn every day. Okay, I'm going to chat. Good question from Serge. Is that a sales webinar to sell your course? No. It is not because we don't sell any courses here, at least. We only sell the idea that one should learn maybe every day of his life. That's the only thing that I'm probably selling, and I agree with that with Andrew Ng who said the same thing. He learns every day. He learns something, and that's what I was going to ask everyone. So how I would not say the new thing. I think learning the same thing again is just as good. But how many times do you learn a week? What would you say? Now, I will tell you, just to start the conversation, for me it will be 7. I do learn every day. It may be different things, but at least I do. Okay, and Serge insists that he also lessons 7 times. Paul also 7. Tell me, Paul, I know you. I think you know everything. I don't know what you are learning. But I myself just said that learning again the same thing is worth it. Okay, so these are the kind of advice from the top from Andrew Ng. And practice then, because it makes no sense if you don't practice. It's like learning a language. You need to do it for some reason. Talk to somebody or read something. Okay, that's the most essential news. Then he talks about other things, and he talks about what he built. That's all. I think that's the new thing. Now, the next new thing that I will tell you, wow, 14 about every half day. That's amazing. All right. I'm amazed. Okay, so first of all, there's about 100 courses here. And I think this year, yeah, I went into the new stage, and the new stage was, well, learn it again. You will be surprised, but I find a lot of things that I missed that are poorly organized here. Okay. For example, I was interested in doing this. I have an application that is using Pinecone. And Pinecone is using to become smart, right? To build a RAG, to build a retrieval augmented generation application. Okay. Why did I use Pinecone? Because it was an easy thing. I grabbed an example somewhere and I ran it, and it worked. At that time, it was also free. Now, then they realized that it's also, doesn't work. So you only pay for what you use, but there's a minimal charge of $70. Okay. But what I also realized is that I only did it just because it was easy at that time. So it's like refactoring. You go back and you think, why did I use an off site? Why did I use the third-party database for AI, whereas today there are lots of good applications that allow you to build completely local? You don't have to go out into the world and store your data there when you can store it on your computer. Okay, and I thought which two applications would be working. That would be Chroma database, Chroma, okay, and it would be Q Quadrant, okay, Quadrant. These are the two big databases. Chroma, I think, would be easier to start. And what I've done was to just go to the website of Chroma. So let's do this. Let's go to Chroma. ChromaDB. Let's see. It will take me where I need to go. Try Chroma, it says. And indeed, you can try Chroma. You don't have to do it in the cloud. I'm not sure if that's really the right one. In any case, I got the right code, it worked, and then I went to AI and I said, look, here's an example of Chroma that I like. And could you build the replacement of my implementation that I have, take my API, and redo it with Chroma? It wasn't Pinecone. And that AI understood it perfectly well. Let me show you how exactly I did it. That was free application that I was working on. Actually, it was an AI advisor, just as good. And I asked that exactly that. I asked, look, here's my code. And that works. I'm going back to the beginning of the conversation. And I said, that worked very well, but I don't want Chroma. Yeah, here's my fast API interface. So redo the whole thing. Well, that's a pretty big task, isn't it? And it came back and said, yes. Here, I understand everything. I understand what you need. I understand what functionality you're doing. This is a Chroma implementation of the same thing. I only asked it to grab the endpoints. In other words, don't grab the implementation. Grab only what is the API promises. And it did it. Okay. That was my story. And when I did it, I realized that I have courses on Chroma. So I searched and I found two. In the end, I found out that was a mistake on my part. There was only one. So let's search for Chroma right here. That's the Chroma. The other one was a mistake. In any case, there is a course. So before we go anywhere, learn this course. And you will learn something else that you wouldn't know otherwise. Then go to my repository and run it, and then you will not repeat the bad practices. So the major thing that I'm saying today is an amazing thing. I was always saying that there is no limit to learning new technology, and that was 2 years, and there were 100 courses, as you can see, or about that. And none of them was repeating what the other course said. In other words, these were honestly new courses that was worth learning. So I thought, okay, so what happens when the new courses don't come anymore? And I noticed it's a little bit less, a little bit more of a niche type course every time. Well, it turns out that going back and relearning what you once learned is worth it. And that's what I will show you today. So that was my first discovery, and that was the new news of today, which are old. Learn. That's the news. Don't just build it. First learn that, then try it, then build it, and that will be it. Now I'm going to look at the comments. Who said what? Serge says, I advanced to the stage where I can prompt my co-pilot to write me some code. Yes, right, exactly. But I need to learn how to paste that code and how to follow my AI instructions properly. I agree, and that is the essence, Serge. The essence is that you become even more important, not less important, with AI. If the importance is the thing that bothers you, because you're an architect. As an architect, you need to be able to do what the programmers can do. You cannot just direct them, guys. A general idea, here it is, you implement. No, you need to understand all. So your understanding is very important. And if you don't understand something, you know what chat does. It says just select the piece you don't quite get and ask me again. You know, in case you don't know, what happens is this. You can select any piece and watch that. That says, well, ask me exactly about that piece of code. What does it do, for example? I can start ChatGPT and that will explain exactly that piece. Now, in that case, I'm not interested in that, so I'm cleaning it up. But that's the basic idea. You need to understand one even more than you ever understood before. You're human, you're different. Your level of understanding is not in details, so you can ask the question about the details. Now, Lancy, he says, learning insights is easy. Moving to execution is much harder. In other words, I think, Lancer, you are answering what search says. That's the bottleneck. And one of the theories that I saw is that humans are a bottleneck. Yes, but a very important bottleneck because they are key. Okay, now you will continue that, but I will continue here where I go to Jeff Dean. Now, Jeff Dean updated his performance hints. He is a famous personality. There are lots of jokes of Jeff Dean. For example, he counted to infinity and then back twice. That's one of the jokes. So he is famous for not only big data, but also performance advice. Some numbers a programmer should learn by heart. Well, he introduced this idea quite a long time ago. 2 years. It's today. It's a lot of years, and then he just updated it. That's why it's here. So he talks about why it is important to think about performance. I think that is the first most important idea, is that as a programmer, you used to just make sure the code works. And now when you're dealing with lots of data and lots of computations, you cannot just write the correct code, because if it doesn't work fast enough, it's not called correct. That is the general thing, and I think that's the most important. In the continuation, he talks about exactly how you do it, and that is his famous table, that you cannot just treat the computer as, oh, something's happened over there. No, you need to understand that there are different levels of memory. So you are reading a value, it is read into memory, and then further there are a few levels of memory. That's where L1 and L2 cache come in. Then how long does it take to read into memory? How long does it take to copy a kilobyte of data from one place of memory to another one? So before you would just say A equals B, but in this world it doesn't work at all. So then you also need to have an idea of what does the read from a drive cost and cost in the same self-time. And there are special kinds of drives, regular hard drive or SSD, and so on. Now, let's find some good joke about Jeff Dean. Any? Okay. Now, I'll give you one. Compilers do not warn Jeff Dean. Jeff Dean warns compilers. Hey, what Lance is saying, keep on learning is in AI building is risky. Yeah, in every area of app software, it's risky. The famous hacks are based on the fact that programmers at a certain company did not read beyond the first page of the security book. Okay, no jokes about Jeff Dean. Okay, I gave you one. There is a GitHub directory about jokes from about Jeff Dean, but we are going back, so we're closing all that we don't need. So somebody is laughing about the jokes from Jeff Dean and is not telling us why. Okay, here we are. So I'll show you something that I'm very proud about, and I know it's my own personal thingy, but I am doing something that I want to show. But it has something to do with AI, so not just talking. So I open in IntelliJ. No, I'll open NetBeans. That will look better there. So I'm working on an application that's called Free, but it's becoming a bigger stuff, bigger thing. One of the things it's doing, it can load all the data and prepare it for AI. What do I mean when I say prepared for AI? Well, many companies are, at least that's one of the ideas, many companies are nervous about starting to use AI because they are afraid to put their data there. Well, that's a workbench to try your data there. That's one of the things I'm working on. But it is also still an e-discovery application and data search application. Where is the search? So, no. Okay, I'll just run it. Doesn't really matter. So now when I start, I add a little dialogue. That's my opening dialogue. And now it says, by the way, you are going to use the open source software, but there are additional features right here. If you want them, click here. What I am proud about is the look of that thing. I never had anything that looked reasonably well. And so what I did is I didn't know even how to say it. So first thing I asked AI, how should I phrase it? Okay, I'm introducing additional paid features. How to phrase it so it doesn't sound it got it. It doesn't sound like a sales pitch. Then it positioned all, well, it told me what to position. Then it said, if you want to look a little bit professional, I'll tell you what you need to do. So it told me all the fonts. It told me that shouldn't look like this. It told me that that one is a little bit too much, so make it small. In other words, with that, he said, you're ready to publish. Okay. Okay. Yes, I agree. That webinar is about coding. But it's okay because it is recorded and you can then ask ChatGPT about what did he say there. I didn't get it. So it's okay. There is nothing to be afraid of in the world of AI. Well, okay, that's what I wanted to show. That's my regular style, and it doesn't look like the other style at all. That's what I wanted to show. I'm closing that. And I'm using an old and ancient editor. That's Matisse editor within NetBeans. And no problem because AI knows all the editors. Okay. So we're going to do this. We're going to go back to Chroma, which is nice, intelligent database, open source. You don't have to pay. If you want to pay, you can. You can get that same ChromaDB hosted on their cloud, but you don't have to. So I wanted to run it. Okay, but running it, I also wanted to give you guys an exercise as you asked. So that's an experiment. What I did was this. I went to my Azure, right here and logged in. Then I looked at my virtual machines and I prepared a few. So today I have four virtual machines and three of them are for you and I can start more. That is my experiment. I'm going to run that with you. Here are the virtual machines. And I need to give them one at a time. Usually in the class, I have a list of people. So then I give the name and then I give the IP. But to you, I will ask who is the first? Who wants the virtual machine? Okay, so I'm doing that. I'm going to chat. Chat. Who wants and to be student 02. Okay. Now, if I don't have any volunteer, then I will simply show it to you how it will look, and next time we'll decide. But right now, the same question is student 03 and 04. Okay? Anybody? George is saying something very interesting. Lance is saying something interesting. You know, that is a deep question. Let's do this. Let's copy that question and let us put it on the next agenda right here. Okay, so next time we'll discuss the advantage of your approach versus what I showed. And Lance, that's what you mean, right? You mean compare your approach to mine. All right. So it seems like even though a little while ago some people they asked, well, give us exercises. Like right now, there are no people who want the exercises. What I will do is this. I will show you exactly how the exercise would look like. And then I will offer that after a while. So I am going back to my. Okay, okay. Not related. What I'm showing you is exactly how you do it. And I think that it's useful. That's how things are done. So I go to the first machine. You started on, uh, well, the story. The whole story is you go to a place where you store images of multiple machines. That's the one, the labs that we usually use. And as you can see, I have version after version. Each version says why it is there. Then I go to the latest version and simply say create a virtual machine. That's what I did. It takes about a minute on Azure to create that virtual machine. So I have already done it. When it's done, I'm going to the virtual machines and I'm finding the one that I'm going to use. And that tells me the IP. That's the IP. So I have already done it. I put it into my client. It's here. It's that same virtual machine. So if I click on it, I open that machine. Now let me do this. Let me close all of that because that's me testing it right in the middle. Instead, what you would get, kind of an exercise and a lab, would be exactly that. So you would be seeing a very clean screen. And then I will tell you, okay, here are the labs already. Now, if you don't have the labs already here, then you can clone, and that's what I will show next. But if you do have the labs here, okay, then you can start them. Let's go to the command line, and there you see that on the desktop. So let's go to the desktop. Here we are. And you see built-in AI applications labs, multiple labs that are already cleaned up. So that's a cleaned up version. That's what I would use for the exercises. So I'm going inside. Now the next thing is that you need to have a key, a lot of keys. Now, all of the keys that are here are not valid, except for the one which I created exactly for today. So if I say .env, that is where you hide your keys. That is the standard practice. These are all the keys that are probably all invalid by now. That one, however, is valid. This one. So I created it just for that webinar that we're doing today, and that's a key to the Open API key. Now, we don't need to be staring at it all the time, so we close it, and then we go into the first lab that any lab will do. Prompt engineering is just good enough. Here are all the labs that have to do with that. And you do need to create your environment. So you would need to look at this, how to run the first time. And that tells you step after step how to do it. However, for us today, I would not ask you to do that. Instead, I would write one script, and that's what I'm doing is the next step. Last time I did it, I wasn't careful or I didn't know enough or AI wasn't there. Now it's making very exact, precise, and professional scripts. So I can change that one command. Now in this case, I'm already within the lab. So all I need to do is to source, and then I need to source my already existing environment, and then bin, and then activate. That's what I need to do. That's the only thing you would have to do to run that lab. Now it says you are in your environment. Again, that's what I did a long time ago. Today, the best practice would be better. And that's what I was preparing for the next time. All right. But after that, you can simply decide I want to run the labs. And for that, you need to say Jupyter Lab, and it will open the browser and show you all the labs. I think that's easy. If I add a complete explanation how you can get more labs, that will be even better. So first, once you get a lab and the key is already there, okay, that is easy to run. So what you do is you're saying, now I see some applause. It seems like I'm doing something right. Is that what I'm doing, Paul? I'm giving you lots of bells and whistles. I thought I'm giving the absolute minimum that you need. For example, when you start, the easy way to run each command is hold the shift key and enter. If you don't remember that, just click on run like that. And then you can explain each cell what it does. In this case, you tell it, here is my instruction to make tea. Should drink some tea. And my task to AI is to explain what you need to do, but also give it time to think. So our goal here is not to really teach prompt engineering, but rather to show in general how the labs would look if we take this path and if we spend every time, that's the plan, spend every time a little bit on learning practically. That means that those people who want to push the keys, they go into the chat and they say, oh, okay, and they say, hey, Mark, you asked, do I want to be student 02 or 3 or 4? They should say, yes, I want to be student 02 or 3 or 4, and I'm showing you what would happen. I would give you the IP. I would say, now open your RDP client, which is not too hard to do. My RDP client is on Linux, but if you are on Linux, then you probably know the RDP client for that. If you are on Windows, then you will just say remote desktop and it will work. That was my plan. And what I was going to do is to show Chroma. Again, run it on a virtual machine, show how it would work. So now that I showed you what the plan would be, you tell me, do you want this style of exercise? Do you want, in the sense, to be added to our webinar? Okay? Because if you do, I will prepare a few virtual machines for you. If you don't, then I will simply run it on my virtual machine to show you that, right, it works on the virtual machine, not on Mark's machine only. Okay, so when I am showing the new technology, I will actually allow you to run it. Okay, so Lance wants it. Okay, anybody else? Okay, Serge, it would be too quick. I'm sure you could do it, asking AI on every step. Okay, and Aisha also wants it. Okay, so we have at least two people. Now, right now, maybe. Well, I said I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you. Okay, let's do it. At least you will verify that you can log in, but it won't last long because I will probably kill them a little bit after. Here are the APIs, the IP. So I'm taking that IP and I'm putting back on our webinar, and I'm saying that for our lab, we're not going to do Chroma. It's just an exercise. Do you want that? So student 02 would be this IP. Student 03, and we need some kind of good discipline between ourselves. All right, because we need to make sure that one student gets O2, another gets O3. Please count in the order of requests. So whoever asks first becomes O2. The next person becomes O3, and the next becomes O4. That is our experiment. Then we run back here and we take O3, and we take that IP. There you are. And that is student number 3. And finally, student number 4. Okay, copying that for you. All right, that's the plan. You can already log in. The username is Azure user. And if you're concerned that that I'm giving anything away, well, I will clean it up. That I will remove, not to confuse people. But security is not in that. Security is in the fact that I will disable the keys. The key right now is that. And I'll tell you what you need to do. So, password, bingo, bob, 123, bang. Okay, that is a complete information that you need. In the class, I would do it slower, but we only have an hour. So what you need to do is this. Grab that IP, then start your RDP client, log in with the username Azure user and password bingo123 bang. And what you will see is that. Now, okay, if you want to just try and maybe even email me, report your success, then go to the desktop like this, application terminal, okay? And then go to the desktop. And there you will find the built-in AI application labs. But right now, all the keys for you will not be working. So you will need to go into, you need to open vi.env and put in the key that I gave you. And I rely on you. So you need to go into the lab. And in that lab, open .env and put in the key just to experiment. That's not what I really want to teach. I want to teach Chrome, but that is next time. Okay, run away here. Where is the terminal? Here. That's the terminal. And that's another one. That's how you run around. And I also used that button so that it looks right. And that's where you edit your key and put it in. And because it is RDP, Remote Desktop Protocol, copy paste works. So you can copy it out of our webinar here. And that's the key. And put it in there. And then run the lab. And after you run the lab, tell me the results. And eventually I'll have to disable the keys and the machine. So I'm not going to keep it for too long, but you can play with it maybe for an hour. Okay, now that I explained the plan, I'm going to look at your comments. Okay, Serge. Well, friends, I'll help you. Okay, so if you want, just call me and I'll go through that. We'll talk about what would be best for you. But in general, guys, I'm leaving you with that. I'm leaving you with that complete information. So play with it. Try. So you think it is a good idea to add this to the webinar? And judging by what happened today, so we need about 3-4 machines like that. Okay. All right, wonderful. So going back to what we saw today, we saw that, good news is that we have covered in 2 years, well, actually 3 years, we have covered pretty much all the technologies. You'll be laughing. There will be new technologies, sure. But right now, we covered them all. And now it's a question of practicing. So those people who want to run it can run it. Those people who will want to watch, and that's usually what I put at the end of our webinar. I show how it runs and why it's good for you and what you would do with that. Okay. Any questions? Now, at this point, I'll shut up and just ask you any questions. Okay, Serge, to show me exactly what doesn't work, you will have to share screen. Let's do that. I'm stopping my share. And now you can click on the button exactly in the middle of Zoom, which says share, and share your screen. And I can help you. That's if you want it right now. Oh, okay, let me do this IP. So Serge, we'll have to do it offline, meaning off the webinar, and we'll do it. But Lance reports that the IPs are blocked. That is very, very strange. I'm going to do this. Okay, sharing it back. And that is the next IP. So I'm taking that IP and going to my RDP, closing, yes, then opening it again and creating a new one. And that will be called student 2, O2. The IP, now I'm setting it to RDP. That is the IP. Yes, I'm a little lazy username password, but that all will come later. So let's just try to connect. You see it's not blocked. So what I will do is username Azure user password bingo bob 123, and it goes through, and in fact it even connects. So Lance, you see, I have to argue and say disagree, sorry. It is not blocked, it is connected. What could be is that you take that IP as HTTP IP, but that IP is RDP. Does that make sense? Okay, going back to the chat. Oh, yeah, maybe. Okay, pin and SSH. Let me do that. Let me try SSH. Okay, SSH. The username is Azure user add, and that I think still is here. Well, it comes back as you see, and I'm giving it the password, and that works as well. So, so I'll say yes. If we do it the next time, we'll adjust it to all the problems. Adjust the fact that it works out of the box. Of course, I can do it easier. But guys, you should be at least that technical enough to be able to do what we're doing, okay? So I will not make it easier. At least that's what I'm thinking. We would have an HTTP based client, and there you would not have to do anything at all, but I think RDP is better. Besides, with HTTP, copy paste doesn't work, and with that, it does. Okay. So I like it. It's real life, because in real life you have problems, and in labs, in demos, they always work. It's like, Lance, if you want to, we can have a private meeting and just debug that stuff. Do you want it? Okay. All right. Going back. Okay. I'll email you. All right, here we are. What we did was this. We looked at the news and we came with quite an amazing thing. Not that we learned everything, but we have come to the place where it is worth it to review what we learned. Makes sense. Just because the fiscal year changes should not be the reason for the luck to change, but I think it is in any case. We looked at some hints on performance. I boasted about how I ask AI to help me with everything, and maybe it's not the best way, but Nobody argued except maybe Lance. And ChromaDB is what we were going to use. So next time I'll do it better. I'll show you the tasty final result. I will also show you how you can achieve it. All right. So thank you everybody. Thank you very much. Wishing you a great year. Great year to come. A great weekend and a great year to come. Yusuf, yes, you can use the document. It will be there for a little while, and you can also enjoy the recording later on. So everybody be well and all the best.